Digimon Rearise has a lot of Digimon in it, and there are also repeats and reskins, but thank God we don't have to pay rubies for those reskins, and thank God that they are not actual reskins, they are different Digimon and with different stats and also with skill effects, because by then the game would have been already dead and officially announced dead, and it would have also been labeled as one of those Fortnite mobile gacha ripoff games. So yeah, and shitty jokes aside, some Digimon in this game are good, some are bad, some are decent, some are usable, and some are replaceable, and some are just shit, like actual shit not usable. But then there is the deepest part of those shit parts of Digimon in this game, and that part is called Vikemon. Now, Vikemon is a really, really horrible Digimon. Like, ever since he came out, ever since we even knew of his existence, we just knew that he wouldn't even last a second. And whoever pulled for him only did it for the jokes. Like, even Platinum Numemon, who is literally shaped like shit, was actually more useful. And I will actually prove that in this video. Except there is another copy of Numemon that's actually more shit than the shithole himself. Okay, I cannot speak English, but anyways, let us continue. But there is actually a level that's lower than Vikemon's level. Like, believe me, there is, and I have done some research about it. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Digimon who are actually worse than Vikemon. But before we begin, let me note out some stuff first. This video's research is completely done by me. No one else has helped me with the making of this video, and I'm solely responsible for any mistake of any information that is wrong in here. So if there's something wrong, do not hesitate to smash me with your comments. So, let us begin. When Vikemon came out, we all just laughed really hard. We all knew he would come soon, and we just waited for the inevitable skip that would give us that certain amount of rubies for his week. He really was the perfect skip until Omegamon came out, and then we knew that he was actually a trap. And he really was the perfect trap because it was like a meme before the inevitable destruction. Something like that. So yeah, it really was funny because Vikemon coming out before Omegamon, it kind of showed us how bad I was desperate to milk some rubies, to be honest. So yeah, to explain to you how bad he is, he has really shit stats. His main skill is not horrible, however, it doesn't do that much damage because of how his stats are horrible. The damage percent is really great, but it's nothing because of his stats. So yeah, his sub and passive are just there. Like I can't even talk about them without losing some brain cells. So I will not talk about them. So yeah, to find Digimon that are as bad or even worse than Vikemon, we gotta find Digimon with these requirements in mind. 1, we need to find Digimon that have really horrible stats. 2, we need to find Digimon that have really horrible skills. And 3, we need to find Digimon that are really replaceable. Like, just super replaceable to the point that I would rather use a level 1 Agumon in PvP and still losing. So yeah, I mean losing. Sorry for that. So yeah. Now, after doing some of my own research, I found some results. So we got 30 ultimates, 40 megas, and 2 ultras. Now, before we begin, since I found a lot of Digimon, I'll be talking about the stages in a fast way. I will be doing that so that I can make the video faster and easier for me to edit, and also not boring for you. So yeah, and I'll also not be mentioning shitty skills, so let's start with the ultimates first. And in the ultimate section, we will be dividing the ultimates into like several groups. So first we will talk about the clones first. The clones are basically Digimon that do the same thing, but either for their very own personality type, or for themselves, or for all the allies. So let us begin. Now let us first start with the CC and dot clones. Now, for new people, CC stands for crowd control, which are basically effects like skill lock, paralyze, sleep, and stuff like that. For dot, it's basically poison, burn, and error. So yeah, as I told you, we have a lot of CC and dot clones, about 13 of them. So let us go through them all. For number 1, we got Blue Mermon. He gives permanent burn immunity for himself and 2 turns of burn immunity for brave allies only. Now for number 2, we got Monzaimon. He gives freeze immunity for brave allies for 2 turns and for himself, but permanently. Now for number 3, we got Pandamon. He gives freeze immunity for all allies for 2 turns and for himself, but permanently. Now for number 4, we got Shogun Gikumon. He gives stun immunity for calm allies for 2 turns. And for number 5, we got Super Starmon. He gives paralysis immunity for brave allies for 2 turns. For number 6, we got Shirimon. He gives sleep immunity for deft allies for 2 turns. Number 7, we got Crowmon. He gives shock immunity for deft allies for 2 turns. Number 8, we got Skullmermon. Deft version, not the brave one. He gives burn immunity for brave allies. Yes, that is true. It's not a typo. I was actually surprised by that too. For number 9, we got Digitamamon. He gives sleep immunity for tenacious or yellow allies only for 3 turns. For number 10, we got Gigadromon. He gives stun immunity for tenacious allies only for 2 turns. For number 11, we got Monzaimon. Yellow version, not the brave one, which I talked about. He gives poison immunity for tenacious allies for 2 turns. Number 12, we got Piximon. He gives kill lock immunity for tenacious allies for 2 turns only. For number 13, we got Skullmermon, the brave version, not the depth one. He increases power of brave allies by 20% permanently, and he gives burn immunity for himself permanently as well. That was all the CC and dot clones. Now next up, we have the buff clones. So yeah, buff clones are basically Digimon who give a buff for a certain thing. It's like attack, defense, block, crit, and all of that stuff. And we got 16 of those, so let us go through them all. For number 1, we got Megadramon. He increases the pinpoint rate for brave allies by 20% permanently. For number 2, we got Rise Greymon. He increases the counter rate of brave allies by 20% permanently. For number 3, we got Mayutsmon. He increases the attack of calm allies by 20% permanently. For number 4, we got Vademon. He increases the pinpoint rate for calm allies by 20% permanently. For number 5, we got Wergermon. He increases the block rate of calm allies by 20% permanently. For number 6, we got Macgalgamon. He increases the pinpoint rate of deft allies by 20% permanently. For number 7, we got Mega Kabuterimon. He increases the counter rate of deft allies by 20% permanently. For number 8, we got Metal Greymon. He increases his own counter rate by 40% permanently. For number 9, we got Mayutismon, the deft version. He increases the critical rate of deft allies by 20% permanently. For number 10, we got Edimon. He increases the counter rate of tenacious allies by 20% permanently. For number 11, we got Megadramon, the yellow version. He increases the critical rate of tenacious allies by 20% permanently. For number 12, we got Wergermon, black version. He increases his own type by 40% permanently. For number 13, we got Mega Seedrumond. He increases the block rate of tenacious allies by 20% permanently. For number 14, we got Okuamon. He increases the defense of tenacious allies by 20% permanently. For number 15, we got Super Starmon. Increases his own defense by 40% for 2 turns. Thank God that's a difference. For number 16, we got Zudumon. He increases the power of tenacious allies by 20% permanently. Dear God, that was a lot of permanent stuff. It's like I've been permanently. Okay, I'm gonna stop this shitty shows. That was all for the buff clones, but before we go to the Megas and Ultras section, we got one more ultimate left, and he was the only one who stood out for being the shittiest of all of them, and I had to put him in a separate category. And that ultimate is Padromot. Now, this one basically doesn't give good boosts. His main just lowers the block by 30% for 3 enemies for 2 turns. His sub gives 40% power to himself, and his passive allows all allies to have 60% of the damage reduced when blocking instead of 50%, which is the normal amount you get reduced when blocking. So yeah, that was all the ultimates for this video, and the replacements for all of these ultimates are Now that we are done with the Ultimate Digimon, let us go to the Megas section. Now for the Megas, I'll talk about them in a different way than the Ultimates. I'll mention their stats and all of their skills, but in a fast way because they need a bit of a different analysis and an in-depth explanation. But I'll explain that in a fast way just so it doesn't seem like it's the Ultimate section again, and just so I can make you understand. So we got 14 Megas, let us talk about them. Starting off with Calm Machineman. Now this guy is really bad if you compare both of their stats. You can see that Vikemon actually has better stats bulk-wise, and for the skills, Vikemon is actually superior here because Machineman doesn't do anything that's special except for lowering the crit rate by 30%, which is alright, but it's only crit rate, and back then we didn't have Digimon who relied solely on crit. Keep in mind that this guy is from the OG days of the game. He was first available in the Dark Masters banner. Then he became available in other banners as a non-featured Mega to remind you that if you think you will get lucky, then you are wrong and you should go fuck yourself. I don't think I need to say anything about the sub or the passive at all. They really look that useless. For his replacements, they are pretty much the other Digimon in the banner, like Vikemon, which was really good back then for one-shotting stuff because of his stats and how high his damage percent was. So yeah. Now next up we have Calm Rosemont. Now Calm Rosemont was available at launch. She was actually the very first Digimon that you had to pay 300 rupees for in order to get her egg that had 50% chance of hatching her. She wasn't that horrible, but the problem is no one wanted to pay 300 rupees to get her. On top of that, if they did, it would have been a scam either way because Sukuimon was meta back in the day, and Calm Rosemont only offered paralysis immunity for calm allies only too, and even still now paralysis isn't that popular. Her stats aren't horrible, and her main skill does target 4 Digimon and also increase your team's defense by 20%, which is not bad, but you already have a replacement, which was the good old Grand Quagamon or Genkamon once you have advanced enough in PvP. So overall, she isn't horrible, but her buffs aren't that big, and it's not that important to get her at all because it's pointless. Like, why would you pay 300 rupees to get her? So her replacements are basically Grand Quagamon, Genkamon, and Sukuimon. So it wasn't worth it at all to get her. Now next up we have Yellow Metal Seedrumond. This guy was available back in the day with Calm Machineman in the Dark Masters banner, and for some odd reason he is even worse than Calm Machineman. Now to explain to you how bad he was, you could have used Calm Machineman back then if you were new and liked Megas to advance in PvP, but with this guy you could do the same, but it wasn't recommended. Like Calm Machineman was more recommended to use than this guy, and if you use at least any of the OG ultimates, that would have been better. His stats are garbage actually, so he will not survive a lot with you or even hit hard. His main does give a 30% defense, which is actually good, back then. But yeah, since the max you could get from Grand Wagamon was 20%, but if Mel Seedrumond could actually use that boost, it would have been great. And don't even get me started on his sub and passive. Just don't. Like, they are really useless. So basically, for the replacement, anything in the Dark Master's banner, you could have even used Machine Dramon, or even better, Creepymon, which again is good. Now, next up we have Yellow Metal Etman. Now, this guy was available from the beginning in the tutorial summon, and then continued to exist everywhere. In fact, he was my very first Mega Digimon in the game. He wasn't horrible, he was even used in some teams, but he wasn't the best. His stats are okay, he can survive some stuff, but there was just no reason to use him. Even Titamon, which was very rare to have back in the day, had more uses than this guy. His main skill is okay if you were able to land the paralysis, you were counted lucky if you actually had that. And same goes for the sub skill, except it's actually more shit than the main skill since it targets one Digimon. So yeah, for the replacement, oh wait, what? I forgot the passive. Yeah, I'm not talking about it. Fuck that passive. For the replacement, anything else in the tutorial banner, just grab Minervamon. Like, seriously, she was meta back in the day. That minus 20% defense was actually worth it. Now, next up, we have Yellow Machinedramon. Now, this guy was available directly after Omegamon, and you'd think he wouldn't be this garbage or even on this list, but no, Bandai always love to remind you that they know how to make either overpowered Digimon or just complete garbage, and nothing in between, and this Machinedramon is one of them. Now, this guy was a guaranteed drop in a step up featuring himself and Calm Piedmon, and that banner was also a bonus for the War Greymon SDQ or Spotlight Digimon Quest, if you don't even know what SDQ means. And to be honest with you, this banner puts the War Greymon SDQ to complete shame, because not only are this Machinedраmon's stats absolute shit, he doesn't even offer that much damage. Now, yes, you could argue that the main skill does have 520% on skill level 10, but think, like, just think for a second. Would you really waste your skill stones on him? Like, you had other important Digimon coming soon. Like, I okay, I actually don't really remember. But quoting what I said earlier, this guy was available after Omegamon. Like, he really, like, he truly has no reason to be this bad. He doesn't, like, at this point, there is no reason to use him in PvP or Clash, and God forbid you even had the idea to use him in Underworld Dungeon, you crackhead. His sub has one of the most failing mechanisms in the game. Shout is not only just a shitty mechanism, it's also completely foreshadowed by cover. Like, Bandai knew it was a shitty mechanism, so they decided to rework it and call it cover. And if I don't see that shit on Super Grand Quagamon, even if he's even coming, that is, then I will just riot and storm to Bandai's HQ. Now, all of this aside, like, just to stop kicking that dead corpse, the passive is just there to hype Dinasmon, who was good back then, but he died after Dot and Fade became a thing. So yeah, for the replacement, just get Omegamon. Why would you even suffer to pull Calm Piedmon? Like, why? Like, yeah, he's okay, he's kind of fine, he's good, but he's not worth it. He's not worth this absolute piece of shit. Now, next up we have Yellow Diabormon. This guy was available at the same time as Leosmon, so pretty much give or take like 2 or 3 weeks after Omegamon. So yeah, and again, you would think he would at least be good or maybe decent, but no, he isn't. He's actual bullshit, and the whole explanation is basically what I've been saying this whole entire video. Stats are shit, main skill doesn't hit that hard, sub skill shouldn't even exist, passive, just why? Why does it even exist? Why do you live? Why do you have a purpose? Why am I making this? So Yeah, and admittedly, the self-attack increase after every action is good, but not in here. It's like Bandai knew he was shit, yet they still put him out anyway, hoping for someone, some poor dude who loved the Abomamont so much that he wanted to wail on this banner just to get him. Now, before I go to the replacement, let me be clear here, because there will be some DG Knights out there saying that I'm a tryhard who doesn't like favorites and shit, and to that I say, you fucking degenerate. I pulled on Shine Greymon when he was out. I pulled on War Greymon X in Japan and used 2.1k rubies, you fucking idiot. And I even made him level 150 and he's now level 135 in global, you fucking idiot. So take your sorry excuse of hate comment and shove it up your ass for now. And to calm down from this bullshit, for the replacement, she's in front of you. Literally, I just mentioned her. And she's called Rosemont. You baka. Now, next up we have Yellow Kaiser Greymon. Now, for Digimon that is a Greymon species, which, as a small note I should point out in here, I love Greymon species. Best kind ever in Digimon, in my opinion. And he's also a knight, and he also appeared on Valentine's Day, or a Valentine event. And you'd think he would be lovely, but no, he isn't. He's not even that great. And what makes him absolutely shit to use is the fact that his stats are absolutely garbage, except for the HP, which is really, really excellent, but it's overshadowed by his piss poor defense. There is also the main skill, which is pretty much nothing, and then there is a sub, which is somehow even worse, and then you get to the passive and you just lose all face in this game and go and hang yourself. Much like I did. Now, I have some video evidence in here showing how Kaiser Raymond really is that shit. This video was made by Aaron Dite, one of the mods in the Rearise group, who also has a channel, so please go check him out. He's a really cool dude, and yes, he gave me permission to use his video, so let us check the video out. Now, next up we have no, it's not actually yellow. It's Deft. It's Deft Plasmon. Now, for a Digimon that you need to pay 300 rubies for a chance to hatch him from an egg, this is one of the biggest disappointments in the entire game. Calm Rosemont, which, as I said before, is the Digimon that you could buy to have a chance of hatching her from an egg, is better than this shit. His stats are horrible, his main skill just doesn't do that much because of how his stats are shit. The poison isn't even that special, it doesn't do extra damage like the current poison, and do not even get me started on the sub or the passive. Now, the reason I bring up the poison not being special, despite all of the Digimon I have mentioned up until now, which are very old Digimon and were released way before we have the current shit shows that we have right now. I am looking at you, Ancient Greymon, my good boy. Anyways, the reason is basically this guy was available in 3 different eggs. One being the Tenkind Mega Digi-Egg Part 3, and then there is the Part 4, and then there is the Part 5. If you go and look back, the Part 3 egg came out when Alphamon or Hurricane did, which I believe was when the dot effects actually started to become popular. For Part 4, it released at the same time as Shine Greymon Burst Mode, which is really when the dot effects started to become actual torture. For Part 5, it came out 1 week before the Rosemont anniversary banner came out. It was also the time where Calm and Deft Zeward D were introduced. So yeah, this Digimon is a legit disappointment, and the fact that he didn't even get any buff during the whole entire time he was available in the game is just sad. For his replacement, just don't buy the fucking egg. Like, why? Why would you even buy it? Just go and get shafted on the banner. That would even give you something. Now, next up we have Deft Platinum Numemon. This Digimon was available from the very beginning, and for the Digimon who throws shit, this list fits him. Now, his stats are Nume. His skill is also Nume, and the reason being, why the fuck would you even reduce the counter rate and the pinpoint rate of your enemy? The stuff is okay, but again, stats. I won't talk about the passive skill. For the replacement, just reroll. Like, why? Why would you even use him? At this point, Metal Edimon could even be used. Yeah. Now, next up, we have Deft Buildimon. Now, this guy came out after Leosmon. His passive is okay, but it's overshadowed by Tyrimon's subskill, which drops the enemy's defense by 30 or 40% depending on the skill level. So there really is no point in using him, even if you miss their SDQ. The stats are also horrible. I mean, Buildimon's stats, not the Tyrimon. So yeah, the main skill is meh. It's not really that useful. Same goes for the sub skill. For the replacement, you had a lot of stuff to choose from, like Leothmon or the Lopmon and Tyrimon. So yeah. Now next up we have Deft Puppetmon. This guy was also available from the beginning, and the reason he's here is because he's Deft Power. Now until Deft Bancho Leomon came out, Power Deft Digimon just had no reason to exist in terms of nuking. They weren't the best at all, and they were no good, and they were just being despised by people. Until Bancho Leomon came in and decided to say, fuck you all, I am here, and I will finally carry my family. So yeah, Bancho Leomon is the only Deft Power Digimon in the entire game that has very good nuking ability. Now, ignoring the power stat here, the rest of his stats are not that great. The main skill is also it's just boring. The sub skill is okay. It's not horrible, but not gonna be used in PvP that much. And if you can make him survive in Clash, you'd have been usable there for a bit if you missed Aerovidramon. Now, for the replacement, yep, I just mentioned him, it's Aerovidramon. He offers 10% more defense debuff than Puppetmon, and he is also free. Free. That's it, yeah, that's how he's spelled free. And he was free if you registered for the game before it was out. You can still get Aerovidramon up until now, but that's through a banner or an egg, or yeah. So, and he's not even that useful anymore. Like, he's nice to have for collection, and that's it. So yeah. Now, next up we have Deft Ravemon. Now, this Digimon was also available at the beginning of the game, and he wasn't that recommended. The reason for that is he didn't have anything special aside from the blind, which was cool, but it was shadowed by Squamon. Again, but he was still usable, just not as usable as Squamon. He does deserve a spot in here because his buffs aren't that great, and he doesn't do that much. His replacement was, of course, Squamon. Now, next up we have Deft Barbaman. Now, this Digimon was available along with Calm Multiverse Seedrumond back in the day, and this guy is a literal Vikemon. He really is a Vikemon clone. But his stats are better. Like, yeah, you could give him that. At least, except for the defense. It's close, but for the skills, he's worse than Vikemon. Like, he really is. For the replacement, I would recommend you for Seedrumond at this point, which I don't like to do because of his Godspeed ability, which is literal bullshit. So yeah, I know this one was half-assed, but yeah, I'm just disappointed. Like, yeah, I don't even want to give this guy a good read at all. Now, next up we have Green Phonics Man. This is our last Mega, and I would like to say that it was hard to find any Green Digimon because most of them were actually used in Underworld Dungeon and in several occasions. The ultimates were used in Underworld Dungeon a lot, and most of the Megas were actually used when they came out. So yeah, even Ophanimon was used, and proof of that was in Arondice's video. So yeah. Now, Phonicsmon came out after Shine Greymon being the third banner Digimon to have been released in the game. His stats were okay, but his skills were meh. His main skill doesn't offer that much, except for the burn, but even then it doesn't do that much because, again, it doesn't deal the normal burns. Now, it's kind of weird saying normal burns, even though the burns right now actually one-shot stuff. So, yeah. It's kind of funny to be honest, but yeah, his sub skill is just stupid. It doesn't even heal himself. But back then, brave and calm Digimon were popular. We had Minervamon, Vikemon, or Raymond, and others. But it still wasn't recommended to use him because, again, he doesn't heal himself and his stats aren't that great. For the replacement, I would just recommend anything else. Like, I'm pretty sure back then Sakuyamon was still available. Like, it had maybe at least 1 week left before it was removed. So yeah, you could have still grabbed her by then. So yeah, she was still out and you could have grabbed her. So yeah. Now we are in the Ultra Digimon territory. It will basically be the same thing as Mega Digimon, so there won't be anything new here. We got two new Ultras, so let's talk about them. Now let us start with Armageddon. Now before we begin, this guy got a boost for his stats and passive at some point in the game, but I cannot find when that boost was implemented at all using the search feature for Discord, and I can't remember when it did happen. So yeah, he's still useless though because the boost came out so late. That is what I do remember. So yeah, this guy was available after Omegamon by a bit. He was supposed to be a counter to Omegamon, but he couldn't do his job correctly because his stats were that horrible, and he doesn't even have an attack multiplier or even a crit multiplier for that matter. So he solely relies on his own damage, which is just something stupid. You couldn't use this guy outside of Death Week because he was that weak. But even then, he couldn't one-shot an Omegamon. Now, what you had to do to make him one-shot an Omegamon, you needed to use him in Death Week, and you needed to have a defense and tech resistance debuffer, which at that time it was Tyrimon, which was a rookie with horrible stats, and you might need to use his stuff first. I mean, Armageddon stuff, not Tyrimon stuff first. Sub first, just to be sure he absolutely one-shots that Omegamon. All of that comes to 2 turns, since at first you will need to use Tyrimon sub and then Armageddon sub, so that's 2 turns for preparation, and then you go to the 3rd turn if you aren't completely dead yet and one-shot by that Omegamon, who has probably already fucked your team and won against like 2 more teams by the time you finish preparing now. Now for the replacement, I'm pretty sure Lirismon was out by that time. I'm not 100% sure, I don't really remember that. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Lirismon was out by that time and she was used more. And she actually had more uses than Omegamon. Now, next up, we have Deft Examon. Now, this Digimon was available as an egg that is worth 10,000 Digi-Orbs. It was available after Omegamon and also at the same time the very first ticket banner that launched in Rearise. Now, since I mentioned Omegamon, this guy does support him in a way by debuffing the enemy, except it's in a bad way. His main skill offers a minus 20% power resistance to the enemy, which is not that great considering that Omegamon does 40%. The sub is decent, but it's not for all enemies, so it's not that great as well. So yeah, we will just not talk about the passive at all. I don't want to talk about it. For the sets, they're okay, but not the worst. For the replacement, there is of course Omegamon, or just not buying the egg at all. It's really not worth buying the egg unless you are maxed out on orbs, which I don't see happening very often unless you are like the next no life tryhard swagger with Doritos and Mountain Dew. So yeah. Now that was all for today, guys. This video isn't supposed to be a guide, but I'm putting that in the tags anyways because I want more views, and yeah, I I'm that clickbaity. So yeah, ooh, Cookie Mom bad, yippee. So that that was kind of retarded, but yeah. Anyways, I hope it was fun. It was a fun video for you, and don't forget, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe, and hit those bells so that you don't miss any of my next videos. And don't forget to check out Aaron Dyke's channel. Thanks to his help for contributing to the Kaiser Raymond part. It was a nice touch, that part. So yeah, later kids.